Hey YouTube, how's it going? Zach Butler here. Just wanted to go over the Punk strategy for Master Duel for those of you who might be new to it. If you're a follower or subscriber of the channel at all, you know I'm a big fan of the Punk cards. They're some of my favorite cards that have ever been released. So getting a chance to play the Punk deck at full power in Master Duel is something I'm very excited about, because there are some cards that are legal in Master Duel that aren't even legal in the TCG that make this deck even better than it is in the TCG. But because it's pretty new to a lot of Master Duel players, I wanted to go over all of the cards, break them down, and give you like a real good basic idea of what each of them do. So we're going to go through each of the cards, why you'd play it, why you might not play it, the ratios you play it at, and then at the end I'll have a full deck list for you to go ahead and utilize if you would like to give it a shot. Before anything else, though, if you like this kind of content, please like, comment, and subscribe below. If this video gets to 50 likes, I'll do a combo video. If that video then gets to another 50 likes, I'll do some dual content, actually, where I walk through my decision process with this deck. So let's just jump right in with the first Punk monster, which is No Punk Foxy Tune. So No Punk Foxy Tune is one of the 2 level 8 punks that you play. She's got 2300 attack, as you can see, 2600 defense, and she's got a couple of really great effects. The first one is when she destroys a monster by battle, you gain life point equal to that monster's original attack. The way that the Punk deck works is that you're paying life points to use your effects, so being able to gain those life points back through Foxy Tune is actually really beneficial and does come up a fairly decent amount. The next effects, though, are only once per turn. You can special summon Foxy Tune from your hand by attributing one Punk monster you control for free, so you just go right ahead. You don't have to attribute 2 monsters like you would for a normal level 8 monster, which is pretty great. But then the really good effect is that you can send it from your hand or field to the graveyard, and then on resolution you can send one other card to the graveyard and summon any non-level 8 Punk from your deck. So you could send Foxy Tune and any card and end up summoning one of your level 3 tuners that we'll get into here shortly. The next level 8 that people play is the No Punk Ogre Dance. This is the other big beat stick of the main deck. It's again got a couple of pretty great effects. The first one is when your opponent's monster activates an effect as a quick effect, you can make Ogre Dance gain attack equal to that monster's original attack until the end of this turn, which can be really terrifying. It's already at 2500 attack, and then if they activate any effects, it can get to over 4000 very easily and helps with game swings a lot. Its next 2 effects are again once per turn. The following effect is just like Foxy Tune, where you can tribute 1 Punk monster you control and special summon it from your hand. But then instead of Foxy Tune, where you would discard Foxy Tune and send another card to special summon a Punk from your deck, Ogre Dance lets you discard itself and at resolution add any non-level 8 Punk monster from your deck to your hand. So it's yet another 3 copies of every other small Punk monster in your deck. The main Punk monster that everybody knows for the little ones would definitely be No Punk Zumen. This is a level 3 tuner, and it is an Earth, which is awesome because it means that also the Earth Charmer gets a little bit of utility in this deck, and if you can make level 6s or level 5s with Earths, you can play the Naturia cards with them as well. Zumen has couple of effects. The first one is you can pay 600 life points and you add 1 Punk monster from your deck to your hand except for another copy of Zumen. And then if it is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Punk monster you control and it gains 600 attack permanently, and each of those effects is a hard once per turn. The permanent part is really important because a lot of players will actually forget that, and I've noticed in the TCG often will make mistakes of running into the pumped monster. The second level 3 that is the most commonly played would definitely be Yu-Gi-Oh! Punk Sharakusai. This is your fusion summon Punk monster. It is again a level 3 tuner, but this one has got 2 very powerful effects. The first one being you can pay 600 life points, fusion summon 1 Punk fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control or in your hand as material. And then during your opponent's turn, you can, as a quick effect, pay 600 life points, and as soon as that effect resolves, you can synchro summon 1 Punk synchro monster using monsters you control as material. And there are 2 Punk synchro monsters that we'll be going over. Sharakusai is definitely one of those cards that you want to keep in mind when you're planning out how your turn is going to go, because it's got such a powerful effect. We then have my second favorite level 3, which would be Punk Wagon. You can pay 600 life points, add 1 Punk spell from your deck to your hand, and then when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Punk monster or monsters you control, or when your opponent's monster targets one for an attack, you can draw 1 card. That comes up a lot, actually, where sometimes your hand is a little weak, so you'll summon your Wagon, you'll pay 600 life points, they might negate it with like an imperm, but you chain, draw a card, and then if they attack, you get to draw another card, so at least the Wagon got a +1 in that sense. Then you've got Joruri Punk Madam Spider, where she, instead of searching spells, can pay 600 to search for a trap card from your deck, and then when your opponent, or when you activate a Punk card or effect that targets a card your opponent controls except during the damage step, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and its attack becomes halved until the end of the turn. Again, with all of the other stat changing effects, it's actually really important to remember this because that can come up for game swings. The last and most recent addition of the main deck Punk monsters would be No Punk Deer Note, the one that every Punk player has been so excited to get. This is the level 5 Punk monster. It is a warrior, which is really important if you want to combine it with Therions because it lets you use it with Bull. What Deer Note does is you can reveal 1 other Punk monster in your hand, and then you can pick between the Deer Note and the other monster, and you special summon 1, and then the other monster goes to the graveyard. Then, if the Deer Note is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 Punk monster in your graveyard, except for level 5 monster, and you special summon that monster back. But you cannot special summon No Punk Deer Note for the rest of the turn, and you can only use each of those effects once per turn. It's really important because Deer Note lets you start to combo off and really get to increase your ceiling and get to all of those really cool plays that you're going to see later on in those combo videos and stuff. That's all of the main deck monsters. So what about the main deck spells? There's only a couple. The first one, the most important one, is Punk Jam Extreme Session. This is one of the best field spells I think I've ever read in Yu-Gi-Oh! Once per turn, you can banish 1 Punk card from your graveyard, and you can special summon 1 Punk monster from your hand. Notice there's no level restriction on that, so you can just summon out your Foxy Tune and your Ogre Dance or your Deer Notes as you please. And then if a psychic monster you control paid life points to activate its effect, you get to draw 1 card. And you can use that effect of Jam Extreme Section twice per turn. So if you were to summon Wagon, pay 600 to search for the field spell, and then summon another Punk, pay 600 and draw, like you use a Xiamen and you use it to search out a monster, you draw a card there, and then you make one of your Madam Spiders or your Sharakusa and you use its effect, you get to draw another card. So it can really just start to snowball. Another one of the big Punk spells is Gagaku Punk Crash Beat. Not a big fan of this one. It's a continuous spell. It says if your opponent activates a card or effect that targets your Punk monster or monsters, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn, and if this card in its owner's spell and trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can activate this effect. During this turn, your opponent cannot target Punk monsters you control with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You're not honestly going to use this one because it doesn't actually advance your game state at all, and so we just don't even bother with it. And those are the Punk spells there. Besides Wild Picking, I always forget about this one. Another continuous one. At the start of the damage step, if your Punk monster battles an opponent's monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster. You can only use this effect of Gagaku Punk Wild Picking once per turn. And then if this card in its owner's spell and trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can activate this effect. Punk monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. This is actually just the worst one. You wouldn't play it at all. You could maybe make an argument for playing Crash Beat, but there's no circumstances in which Wild Picking is going to be useful, so we don't even bother acknowledging those cards. Really, the only spell that you're going to play of the Punk ones is Jam Extreme Session, because that card just gets you so much advantage. Now, there's 2 different Punk traps, and they're both... Or there's 2 different ones, and they're insane. The first one is Joruri Punk Dangerous Gabu. This is my personal favorite one. You can target one effect monster your opponent controls. You negate its effects until the end of the turn, and then if you control a punk monster at resolution, you gain life points equal to the targeted monster's original attack. So it's an in-theme infinite impermanence, which is just really good, especially in a format where people are trying to snowball all their card effects and their combos like that. You can just shut it down really early, gain back some of those life points, because generally in your first turn you're going to pay upwards of 2,000, sometimes 3,000 life points. And then there's Jaruri Punk Nashawari Surprise. This is another really good one. Target one set card your opponent controls, or if you control a punk monster, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls instead and destroy it. You can only activate one of those per turn. So you could argue to actually play both of these in your punk deck. These are both very good cards. I generally tend to only play Dangerous Gabu because I feel like effect negation more important than actually destruction in this deck, because you have so many ways of disrupting your opponent, but that is something to keep in mind. Then we have the 3 extra deck monsters of the punk deck. The first one being Yu-Gi-Oh! Punk Rising Carp. This is your only fusion monster, so this is what Sharakusai will be summoning. It's a level 8 fish, 1,000 attack, 2,600 defense. Doesn't sound like it's going to be too threatening until you read its effects. You contribute this fusion summoned card, and then you can special summon up to 2 punk monsters with different names from each other from your hand and or your deck, except level 8 monsters in defense position. So if you summon a Rising Carp, you can summon a Tuner and a Deer Note, and you can make a level 8 Synchro right there, or you can summon 2 level 3s to make a rank 3 Xyz. You can summon 2 Deer Notes if you wanted to make a rank 5. That doesn't really ever come up, but if you are living a crazy life, you can do that. If you Synchro Summon using this card as a material, you can target one punk monster you control and can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn. And each of those effects is a once per turn. So the second effect doesn't come up as often, but it's usually good to use on the follow-up turn after your setup to help facilitate OTKs, thanks to your main synchro being Yu-Gi-Oh! Punk Amazing Dragon. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Punk Amazing Dragon is a level 11, which is a key because that means that any of the level 3 tuners and any of your level 8s will equate to that. Sharakusai being able to quick synchro on your opponent's turn means that you can make Amazing Dragon during your opponent's turn really easily. What it does is it's a 3,000 attack, 2,800 defense Sea Serpent. If this card is synchro summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 psychic monsters with different names you control and in your graveyard, return them to the hand. Its other effect is that you can target one punk monster in your graveyard except for an Amazing Dragon and special summon it, and you can only use one Amazing Dragon effect per turn and only once that turn. So just to keep in mind here, you already have these 4 level 3s here, so if you go through all 4 of them on your first turn, which isn't uncommon, you can then on your opponent's turn summon Amazing Dragon and bounce 4 cards off of one synchro summon, disrupting their entire setup. Then the level 8 Punk Synchro that we just got in Master Duel today is Punk Jam Dragon Drive. This is another one of those cards that really just brings the whole deck together. It takes one Psychic Tuner and one or more non-tuner monsters. If it's special summoned by the effect of a Punk card or Synchro summoned, you can pay 600 life points. You take one level 3 Psychic monster from your deck and you either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. If your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your Punk card or effect activation while Jam Dragon Drive is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. It can only use each effect of Jam Dragon Drive once per turn. So a lot of the times you'll summon Jam Dragon Drive, search out a monster, and then you'll get rid of it right away. And if they respond to any of your Punk effects later, you just bring it back for free, and you can just end games really quickly there because it's a level 8 with 2,700 attack. So that's just the basic Punk engine right there. That's all of the Punk cards. So now you might be asking yourself, well, what kind of ratios do I play for the Punk cards? And that really depends on what you're looking to do. In the pure Punk deck, you might be thinking you're just going to play all of them. I wouldn't necessarily play 3 copies of all of them, but for sure you would definitely play 3 Foxy Tune, because it is, again, all of your other Punk monsters besides Ogre Dance. I would also say you play 3 Ogre Dance because it's all of these smaller ones again. So now you have 6 additional copies of each of them. You're then going to want to play 3 Z Amen because it is every single other punk monster in your deck besides the Almond. You're going to notice that these 9 here are kind of your bread and butter. These are the ones that you want to open up your plays with. If you can see an Ogre Dance, a Foxy Tune, or a Z-Almond, or any combination of those, you're probably doing pretty well. And the only other monster I would play multiples of would be Deer Note. I'm currently playing 3 in my pure punk deck that I'm playing on the ladder that I've been playing today. Having that third one might seem a little ridiculous because you're going to draw it all the time, and you have your Z-Almonds, your Foxy Tunes, your Ogre Dances, and even your Rising Carp to access it, but its in-hand effect actually comes up a lot. So that's what you're going to see for your punk monsters. Then for your punk spells, I would definitely say you're going to want to play 3 of the field spell here. You're going to want to max out on that just to see it as much as you possibly can. It's so important to get to this card because this gives you all those additional cards. And when you're discarding cards off of Foxy Tune, and you're throwing away cards with your Ogre Dance, and you're using cards for your Rising Carps and your Amazing Dragons and things like that, maintaining that card advantage is really good. So then, for the other engines you might want to consider, one big one that you're definitely going to want to look at is Emergency Teleport, because it's a Psychic deck, so Emergency Teleport can summon all 6 of these monsters right here, so that effectively means that you have 5 copies of Z-Almond before counting the Foxy Tunes and the Ogre Dances, meaning that even without those 6, you have just over a 50% chance of opening up with a Z-Almond in your opening hand, making your deck extremely consistent. Then you're going to probably want to start filling it out with a bunch of defensive cards because your engine is already really consistent and you can see you have a lot of room. And one of the things with a deck like this is when you're drawing all these cards, you're doing a lot on your opponent's turn, you're going to be having a hand full of just all these extra cards. You want them to be defensive cards that you can use, so you can look at using hand traps and things like that. If you're looking for more extenders, one thing I would definitely recommend is Gizmek Orochi, the Serpentine Sky Slasher. This might seem a little crazy because, you know, you're banishing cards, and I know a lot of players in Master Duels are a little scared of that, but it's totally worth it. You're going to be able to get more level 8s, more rank 8s, more level 11 synchros, and that's really what you're looking to do. You're looking to end games quickly. This isn't a grind deck in the classic sense. This is a deck where you're trying to end the game as fast as you can and overwhelm your opponent with all of your options. So now we would start to fill it out with the defensive cards. I would definitely say your 3 Max C, of course, your 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. One card you could definitely want to consider is Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit because, remember, you're looking for level 3 Psychic monsters, because for Amazing Dragon and Jam Dragon Drive, all it needs is to be a level 3 Psychic. Jam Dragon Drive can actually add your 1 Ghost Ogre to your hand, and Ghost Ogre counts for the Amazing Dragon's bounce effect. And because of the 2 emergency teleports, you effectively have 3 Ghost Ogres in your deck when you want them, but you only have 1 when you don't, which is really good because it helps ensure that your straws are going to be more streamlined. From there, I would definitely play a Terraforming. Even though you already have 3 copies of the field spell and you have your Wagon, you want to see it as much as you can. Those are definitely good cards. I'd probably say a Crossout Designator because Max C and Ash Blossom are so problematic for the deck. 3 Infinite Impermanence would definitely be something I would consider in this deck. You, again, are going to be drawing so many cards, and you want to have those good defensive cards to draw off of your copies of the Jam Extreme Session and everything else like that. And then the last card that I always include in my decks, 3 Pot of Desires. So that's what the main deck would look like. What about the extra deck? What are we going to fill it out with? Well, we've already got our 3 main cards here, but I would say you want to play a second Amazing Dragon because you're going to end up going into it a lot. On a lot of your first turns, you'll actually find that you'll summon an Amazing Dragon in certain combos that I can show you later, where you'll summon an Amazing Dragon, and then you can also set up to have another one on their turn, or you can summon a Psychic End Punisher and have an Amazing Dragon on their turn as well. You do have the ability to play other cards like Shinobi Necro, which is going to be really good for your deck because you're milling so many cards. So you could actually, I'd probably argue, play 2 of those. It's okay to go above 40 because you have your Pot of Desires, your Gizmek Orochis, things like that. And by playing a card like Shinobi Necro, it actually makes Chaos Ruler, the chaotic magical dragon, even better in this deck. Because Chaos Ruler milling 5 is huge, and then that helps you get to your level 10 synchros, which can be a little bit of a difficult level to do in this deck. So Chaos Ruler plus the Shinobi Necro is a really good pairing. I would then definitely say that you want to play your Baron de Fleur, your Changing, and then from there you're kind of just filling it out. You're definitely going to want to play Psychic End Punisher. This was another card that we just got today, another level 11. And it's a Psychic, which is really important because for the field spell, the Jam Extreme Session, it just says if you pay life points to use a Psychic monster's effect. It doesn't have to be a Punk, and it doesn't have to be level 3. So if you summon your Psychic End Punisher, you pay 1,000, and you banish an opponent's card, you get to draw a card off of that too, giving you even more advantage over your opponent. So that's going to be like your bread and butter right there. And then you could look at maybe doing a couple of links like your Nightmare Unicorn, go down a little bit further, look at some of the other synchro options you have here. You can do level 9s, you can do level 8s. One of the things you could do is you could consider Crimson Blader. If you think that the Punk deck is going to be really popular on ladder, Crimson Blader is definitely a really good one to consider. I don't particularly like that one myself. I haven't found myself needing to summon it that often, but it is there. I've been playing a single Phantom Knights of Breaksword as a rank 3 option because you do have so many level 3s that sometimes you just need that extra way to do it, or to help break their field. I would definitely say you want to play Asa the Earth Charmer because all of your cards are Earth, effectively. So there's really no reason not to. And then you're going to want to go to your Xyz monsters, and I would just honestly say hit that level 8, and let's see what we got here. The main one that you're going to want to play is the Zombie Vampire. This is actually one of the most important cards in your deck because of Chaos Ruler, and I can go over I'll go over the basic line to how to get this, but Zombie Vampire and Chaos Ruler go hand in hand to make your deck as powerful as possible. Another card that you'll definitely want to make sure you have in there at any point in time is Divine Arsenal, AA Zeus, Sky Thunder. Card is very powerful, very good. You could also include Appaloosa if you wanted, an Access Code Talker. Your extra deck is really open to however you want to play it. You could include more rank 8s, you can include more links, you can include more synchros, you can include an extra copy of the Rising Carp. There's all these different ways to build the Punk deck, and that's one of the reasons why I like it so much, is that you have so much flexibility in how you approach each game, and just how you approach the deck in general, that it really lets you have a lot of skill expression. So I know I said I'd do a combo video, but I'll go over kind of like the most basic thing just to understand like the most absolute like bread and butter thing you're ever going to want to do, which is just to simply summon your Z-Amin. You'd pay 600, grab your Foxy Tune. Foxy Tune would then discard itself and another card, and you'd summon your Deer Note. You'd synchro summon those two into a Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler can mill 5. The Deer Note can also special summon back your Foxy Tune. And then you have 2 level 8s to make your Zombie Vampire. And that's just off of Z-Amin and any random card. So like I said, please let me know down in the comment section below if you guys want to see more content like this. Let me know if you want to see combo videos, duel videos with this deck. This is one of my favorite engines and decks just in the game's history. I've loved it since it came out. I'm so excited to get to play it in Master Duel. I'll be streaming it as much as I can, trying to climb with different versions. There's Therions, there's Pure, there's all these different crazy versions you can do. I've done it with Shaddolls and things like that. So please comment, like, subscribe, and let me know. And until next time, have a wonderful day.